In your homework this week, you're going to be working with fractions and decimals. And we're going to have to look and see how we can turn a fraction into a decimal. Again, we go back to the math tip that this symbol inside of a fraction, this line, means divided by. That's why I had you write that down in your math tips, because it's really important to remember that this line means divided by. So if we have the fraction 1/8, and it says turn 1/8, this fraction, into a decimal. Very easy to do if we remember that this means that 1/8 means 1 divided by 8. So now we know that that 1, which is on the top, has to go inside of the division symbol. Remember, it was like Santa on the roof has to go inside the house. It's not always the biggest number. Don't make that mistake. It's the first number or the 1 on the top. So we have 1 divided by 8. We're going to finish this, and this is how we will turn 1/8 into a decimal. 8 cannot go into 1, so we have to do something to give 8 something to be divided into. So we're going to put a decimal point here, and we're going to add a 0. And we're going to take that decimal point and put it right here so it holds its spot. The decimal point on the top is always lined up with the decimal point underneath. So that's how we're going to keep track of that decimal point. We want to turn this into a fraction. So, and 1.0 is the same as 1. In fact, after a decimal point, you can add as many zeros as you like, and it still equals 1. You could have 1 with a bunch of zeros that go on forever, and it would still equal 1. So we're going to say 8 goes into, now we can ignore this decimal point, and we can say 8 goes into 10 how many times? That only goes in 1 time. So 1 times 8 is 8. 10 take away 8 gives us 2. We still have a number left to divide, so we're going to add another 0 and bring it down. And look at how many times 8 goes into 20. 8 goes into 20 2 times. 2 times 8 is 16. Now we subtract 20, take away 16 equals 4. Now we're very close. We're going to add one more 0 and bring that 0 down here and think of how many times 8 goes into 40. 8 goes into 40 5 times. 5 times 8 is 40. 40 take away 40 is 0. So we are done. So we can go back up here and see what our answer is. 1/8 is the fraction turned into a decimal equals 0.125 or 125 thousandths. Those two numbers are equal, and that's how you make a fraction into a decimal. You just have to remember that the sign right here means divided by. Sometimes when you do this, you'll end up with a fraction that goes on forever, and I want to show you what that looks like. If we turn 5/6 into a decimal, that means 5, remembering that that line means divided by 6. The 5 is on the top, and the 5 is first. The 5 must go inside the house. It must go under the sign, and the 6 goes right here. Since 6 is too big to go into 5, we have to add a few more zeros. Let's do 4. We're going to put that decimal point right up here to hold our spot. Once we move the decimal point to the top to hold our spot, then we can forget about that decimal point and just look at 6 going into 50. So how many times does 6 go into 50? I'm going to make an educated guess that it goes in 8 times. 8 times 6 is 48. So that works. Let's say that you guessed that it might be 9, and then you got 9 times 6 is 54. You could see that if you put 54 right here, it would be too big, too large, so you know that then you would have to go down a number. So it's okay to make the wrong guess at first. It's why I often do my guesses over on the side. But this was a good guess. So 8 times 6 is 48. 50 minus 48 is 2. Now we bring down the 0. 6 goes into 20 3 times. 3 times 6 is 18. So we subtract 18. If you look, 20 minus 18 equals 2. So we'll bring down another 0. Look what happens. We have 6 into 20 again. 6 goes into 20 3 times, like we said before. 3 times 6 is 18. When we subtract, we get a 2. We bring down the 0, we get 20 again. You can see that this will go on forever. 3 times 6 is 18. 20 minus 18 is 2. Bring down another 0. It would go on and on forever. The number would be at 0.8 with a bunch of 3's that go on. We can't just write it like that because we don't have enough paper, obviously. So there has to be another way to write this number to show that that 3 goes on forever. So you would write 0.8. Now the 8 is not repeated. The 8 is this just 1 8. But then when we have the 3, it goes on forever. So we write a line like that on top to indicate that that 3 goes on forever. That's how you write that. That's called a repeating decimal. And you use that little symbol to show what part of it is repeating. We'll do one more repeating decimal so that you can see how that works. We have 21/99. That means 21 divided by 99. The 21 is first and on the top of the decimal, so it goes inside of our house, our division sign. And the 99 goes here. We're going to add some zeros so that we can divide, so we can see when it starts to repeat. First, we're going to say how many times, first we're going to move the decimal point up to the top so it will hold its spot. Once we move it up there, we can forget about the decimal point and just look. 99 cannot go into 2, and it cannot go into 21, but it can go into 210, and it goes into 210 2 times. And we can do that math over on the side. 99 times 2. 2 times 9 is 18. 2 times 9 is 18 plus 1 is 198. 2 times 99 is 198. And when we subtract, we borrow 1 and we get a 2. And we can't take 9 from 0, so we borrow again and get a 1. And now we have 99 into 120 because we brought down the 0. And that goes in just one time. 1 times 99 is 99, obviously. When we subtract, we can't take 9 from 0, so we have to borrow. 10 minus 9 is 1. We have to borrow again. 11 minus 9 is 2. Now we get to 21 and we bring down the 0. Are you starting to see a pattern? Now we have, how many times does 99 go into 210? It goes in 2 times. 2 times 99, like we found out before, is 198. When we subtract, we get 12 again. Bring down the 0. 99 goes into 120 just one time. 1 times 99 is 99. And we'll subtract. And then there'll become that pattern. It will just go 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, on and on forever. So the way you write that repeating decimal is 0.21 with a line over both of them. And that tells us that it goes 0.21212121 forever. So 21/99 is the fraction. Changing 21/99 to a decimal gives us this answer. That would be your answer right there. The last part that I want to show you is that it sometimes will ask you to go the other way and change a decimal into a fraction, and that's actually easier. If they want you to change this fraction, which is 41 thousandths, into this decimal into a fraction. This decimal is 41 thousandths, and they want you to turn it into a fraction. It's actually easier. All you have to do is keep in mind what this means. This means 41 thousandths. So you would write it this way, 41 thousandths. I'm going to show you a trick. If we said, what would this be as a fraction? It would be 28. And then we need to know what place that's in. Well, if we count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's 4 places beyond the decimal point. So you put a 1 and you add 4 zeros. So it's 28 10,000ths. This number has 3 places beyond the decimal point. So you put a 1 and add 3 zeros. It's 41 thousandths. If I showed you this number, which looks kind of complicated, it actually won't be. To change this decimal into a fraction, we say it's 1,245. We just rewrite that. Over, we put down the 1 and we count how many places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we need to add 5 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This number is 1,245 100,000ths. That's how you would change these decimals into a fraction. You can even change the ones that look like this. 23.25. If we want to change this decimal into a fraction, we keep the 23 because that's not a fraction, or that's the whole number part. Now we look at this part, 0.125. We say that it's 125. There are 3 places past the decimal point, so we need to put our 1 with 3 zeros. This is 23.125, or 23 and 125 thousandths. Those are equal. That's how you change this decimal into a fraction. The last one that we'll do is one that looks a little bit longer. This one was in your book. This is 43.21657. Changing that into a fraction, you keep this whole number part right here, and you say that it equals 43. Now we need to see what the fraction would be. Just take these 5 numbers, 21,657. There are 5 places behind the decimal point, so we need a 1 with 5 zeros, which equals 100,000. So this 43.21657, when you change that decimal into a fraction, you get 43 and 21,657 over 100,000. That's how you change them that way.